I'm here at the Education Center at the Hill Aerospace Museum, and today is the first day of us doing our virtual passport or summer STEM passport program, and we're going to have so much fun today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Very quick first though, just a little bit of housekeeping. Today me and my intern will be out in the parking lot in the at the airfield outside of the museum. The actual inside of the museum is closed, unfortunately. We'll be outside at a table passing out our passports. So if you have not been able to download it online, or if you don't want to download online and you want a physical version of the passport, you can come to us between 1 and 3 p.m. in the air park, and we'll be waiting for you. We'll have our masks on and gloves on, so we want to be sanitary, but we'll be passing out these fun little packets, and inside, just real quick, you will find an awesome passport, and then there is a schedule of our activities, and then a list of, with the schedule, there's like a list of materials that you'll need for every single of the activities if you want to do it with us while we're watching the video. Unfortunately, we didn't get these out before today's video, but it's okay. We're not doing anything like massively complicated, so you can do it from home, or you can pause the video and get the stuff and do it from home. So and then along with that, you'll find some stickers and tattoos and like a little bit of swag to go with your fun little passport packets. So come find us between 1 and 3 today in the air park, and we'll be passing these out and be able to answer any questions that you have as well. And then we'll be continuing to do that every Friday between 1 and 3 p.m. until August 21st. So just be aware of that, and then if you want to come back every Friday and get your passport, little awesome airplane punch in your passport, you can do that as well, and we'll be waiting for you. So we're gonna have tons of fun today. I want to talk about something that is incredibly one of the most basic sort of functions of the reality of the world that we live in, and that is energy. So I want you guys to think about it for a second. You can close your eyes or relax for a second, and I want you guys to think about how you feel when you have tons of energy in your body. What do you think you can do when you have lots of energy? You can pretty much do anything, right? So I woke up this morning and I had tons of energy, and I decided I'm gonna go running, and I utilized the energy that my body was storing. It's pretty cool, right? That our bodies have energy. And then there's also lots and lots of things that our world needs that need energy to function. So I want you to take another second. You can close your eyes, you can relax, or you can wiggle around if you want. And I want you to think about what are things in our world or our society that need energy to function. There's tons and tons of them. So I got this picture with some examples. You can see our cell phones really need energy to function. And amazingly, our homes need energy, our transportation, our cars, the ovens that we use in order to cook our food, our lights, or in order to have electricity in our homes, they need energy to function. It's just everything that we uses energy in some way, shape, or form. So I want to talk about that for just a minute, and then we're going to do this really cool activity. So there's so many different kinds of energy. I think there's like 16 or more different kinds of energy that we know of that function in the world that we live in. There's heat energy, so when you put water on the stove and it boils, there is a heat energy that's transferred into that water, and it creates heat, but then it also makes the water move as it boils, right? So it's also making motion energy. That's kind of cool. It can do two things at once. And then there's electrical energy. There's the energy of needing to have lights in our homes. There's mechanical energy. So once again, when you move your body, or you're moving a machine, or you're moving your car, or any type of thing where movement is involved, a mechanical energy is how that is used. And then there is also chemical energy. And you can't really see these pictures very big, so I'm going to hold them up a little bit closer. But there are lots of different kinds of chemical energy, which is a stored energy that can be used later on. For example, did you know that you eat chemicals every single day? What? Can you believe that? We eat chemicals. We don't eat unhealthy. Hopefully we don't eat hazardous chemicals. Please don't eat hazardous chemicals. But the food that you eat, actually is made up of atoms and chemicals of different kinds, and we put that chemical energy into our bodies so that our bodies can function, right? Just like if you don't eat, you're not putting something in your body, and then you don't have any energy to do anything, right? You can't do things. So energy in its base form is literally the ability to do work, to do really anything of any kind. Energy is the ability to do work. So with these many different kinds of energy, it gets a little overwhelming to think about, okay, I don't know exactly what kind of energy that is, I'm not sure. And there's a lot of times there's multiple different kinds of energy that can be used in one scenario. But there's one way that you can break it down. All types of energy, no matter what its individual name is, or no matter what little class or specific type it is, it falls under two different classes. It is either something called potential energy or kinetic energy. Everything, no matter what, it's just either potential or kinetic. So let's think about this for a second. So if something, for example, if I hold up my pen hasn't dropped yet. It's not in motion. It's not using any energy. But it's up here where it has the potential to drop down. So it has the potential to have an energy, to move, to do something, right? And then when I drop it, it's actually energy in motion. It becomes kinetic energy. So there's a lot of different ways you can think about that. And anytime you think about energy and its different types, you can think about, is that potential energy? Is it stored and is it being used yet? Or is it actually energy in motion? One of the easiest ways that I think to think about this is actually in like rivers and dams. If you a lot of us in Utah, we have a lot of dams or hydroelectric power here in Utah, and you can see this picture of a dam right here, and you can see when water is being stored inside of the dam and it's not being released, it has a potential energy. And when it is released, that potential becomes kinetic. It becomes motion, right? Because you're holding all that water there, and then it needs to be released and it becomes kinetic. So we're gonna do a really cool experiment where you're gonna make your own hydromechanic power and or hydromechanic energy and see how potential energy changes into kinetic energy. So there's a few things that you need. We're gonna use, I'm gonna do two different experiments because you might not have all the same materials at home. So for the first experiment, you're gonna need a fidget spinner. These are tons of fun. A lot of homes have, at least a fidget spinner. And then you're gonna need some water or a water bottle of some kind. You can use your faucet at home if you want to. And you're gonna need probably a bowl or your kitchen sink. If you don't wanna use a bowl or your kitchen sink, you can get a water bottle and you can take it outside and you can have a little bit of a water fight, which sounds like fun to me, right? We all need to have some water fights. So you can take it outside, but if you do not have a fidget spinner, that is okay. We'll do another version of this little experiment using just a piece of paper. You can use a piece of paper, a pencil with an eraser on it, and a thumbtack. And we'll do a different version of this as well. So if you don't have a fidget spinner, or you can do both because they're both kind of fun to do. So the first thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna talk to you guys for a second about what I'm doing, right? So I'm holding up this fidget spinner, and because fidget spinners are so much fun, I'm just gonna take my finger and I'm gonna spin it. Now, when I do that, I'm taking the chemical energy that my body has stored, turning it into kinetic energy, the potential energy that my body has stored, turning it into a kinetic energy and spinning the fidget spinner, which is making a motion energy of some kind, right? It's pretty cool that our bodies can do that. But in order to do this, we actually, instead of just using our finger, we can use different types of potential and kinetic energy to make this spin. So we're gonna do exactly what they do when they create dams inside of rivers. So a lot of dams or a lot of rivers have dams in them, and they use that to generate electricity. And they do so by taking that potential water, that water that stores up high, and then they pour it basically out of the dam, and it causes these big, huge turbines to move. So this is my little turbine right here, and we actually do sell these fidget spinners in our gift shop. So if you want to, you can actually go online and buy them since we're not physically open, and hopefully when we open again, you can come buy one of these really cool fidget spinners. I know I'm definitely gonna buy one because I think they're really cool. So I've got this fidget spinner and I've got this water, right? And I'm gonna actually use the mechanical and potential energy, or take the potential energy of my body, and I'm gonna pull this up, and I'm gonna give this water a lot of potential energy. It's being held up here, it's not in motion, it's not being used, right? So it's potential. It has a lot of potential to be moved downwards. And then I'm gonna hold up my fidget spinner. And I'm gonna start pouring water. Oh, let's see if it works. Onto my fidget spinner. And you can see how the potential energy turned kinetic, poured on, and it caused my fidget spinner to move. This is the exact way that hydroelectric dams work. They cause these giant turbines, and they're a little bit scary, so don't get close to them, but these giant turbines, and they cause them to move, right? So let's try this again. I'm gonna use my other water bottle. Let's see, we'll do it this way. Oh, there we go. You can see how it makes it move. And you can try this at home. It's kind of fun to see different angles and at what angle you put it at the fidget spinner, how fast it can make it move. And maybe you can change the temperature of the water and see if that affects it. It's just kind of fun to see the actual effects of what it does to taking that potential energy and turning it into kinetic energy, which makes motion energy, which can be used to create electricity. It's pretty cool. So if you do not have a fidget spinner, totally okay, don't worry about it. You can do this other experiment, or you can do both if you've got both. And we're gonna create our own wind power. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a piece of paper and cut it into an exact square. So it's really easy to take a piece of paper. You both basically just have to fold it and cut the edges off. You can cut it into a square, but you need a square piece of paper. And then, gosh, my hands are wet. Let me make sure my hands are dry. And then you're gonna take this piece of paper and you're gonna fold it into diagonals. All right, so I've got one diagonal, and I'm gonna unfold it, and then I'm gonna fold it into the other diagonal. So I've got two different creases in my paper, right? I've got two diagonals. So once I do that, I'm gonna take some scissors and I'm gonna cut into these little lines that you've folded into your paper. So I already did it to my one piece paper, so I'm gonna show you the next one. Don't cut it all the way to the middle, just cut it like 3/4 of the way there till you're almost to the middle, but not quite. So I've got this piece of paper right here that's already been cut for me, and I'm gonna take these pieces of paper and I'm gonna you can use glue or some tape, and you can tape them down. And I'm gonna start taking these edges and I've cut them in, not all the way to the middle, but in, and then I'm gonna start moving these little pieces real quick before I forget. I'm gonna take out my tape because I wanna use a couple pieces of tape. I'm gonna move these to the center one little piece at a time. So I've got one side in, I'm gonna move the other side. And don't do every corner, because if you do that, you won't be able to make it into a windmill. Just do one corner of each of your little pieces of paper. Okay, so once you're done, you'll have what looks basically like a little windmill. You see these a lot when you go to, on Memorial Day, when you go to, or when you go to funerals, or I can't remember the word, graveyards. When you go to graveyards, you'll see these a lot of times sticking out of graves because they spin in the wind. So once you do that, you're gonna take your tack, and I've got mine stuck in my pencil already. You're gonna take your tack and you're gonna create a little hole in the middle of this little windmill. And just make sure your hole, I like to take my tack and I like to move my hole around a little bit so it's a little bit bigger, so that it makes it so that it can move a little smoother and easier. So I've got this tack and I'm sticking it in, and I just want to make sure that I can move this around the tack like this. So once I've done that, I'm going to take the tack, and I've got my pencil with an eraser at the top, and I'm going to stick my tack inside the pencil. This is pretty easy. I think most of us have, paper, pencils, and probably a tack somewhere in our house, and you can ask your mom or dad how to find a tack. So now that you've done that, you've basically got a windmill. So windmills, they use wind to work, right, to spin, right? And the wind has a potential and kinetic energy. So I'm going to breathe in, giving myself, my lungs, a literal potential energy, and then I'm gonna blow out and turn that potential energy into kinetic energy, which spins the windmill. Oh, maybe I can't do this. Oh, I've got a better windmill. Let's try the other one. So you can try it and see which ones work best for you, but either way, you're still spinning it. I'm really bad at this, guys, but I think you can do better than me. So if you want to take pictures and post how much better at me at spinning the windmill you are, you can definitely do that because I'm not very good at it. Whoa, okay, now that I said that, we did it, right? So I literally took the energy, the air in my lungs that I'm breathing. Your lungs have potential and kinetic energy. Isn't that crazy? Just from the air that you breathe, you are creating or transforming energy into usable forms that can spin things like this and cause and create motion, which then can be used once again in, regular windmills. We use the wind, which is created by, sun and its interaction with our Earth's atmosphere, and we can use that to create electricity. It's pretty impressive. So if you guys want to, you're welcome to think about all the different ways that you can take potential energy and turn it into kinetic energy. And you can even think up your own experiment if you want and post it and tell us about it. So that's a challenge if you want to go the extra mile. Think about ways that you can take potential energy and turn it into kinetic energy. Well, that is all we've got for our lesson this week. We look forward to seeing you guys. We've missed you so much, and we're so excited to sort of have this virtual program. And we'll see you guys next week when we talk about magnets. That's going to be fun.